There's something really special about a cabin in the woods. And when that cabin makes you feel great when you're inside, that's a big part of the attraction. Now, exactly why and how a cabin makes you feel terrific is directly related to how it's built. In this video, I'm going to show you two specific construction details that go a long way to creating that woodsy, antique atmosphere that's found inside any proper cabin. These allow authentic wood construction to remain visible from the inside while providing cozy and energy-efficient performance even during the coldest winter weather. One of the main things that makes old-time cabins feel so nice is exposed rafters and roof boards that you can see from the inside. Now, this is a feature that's almost never seen in modern construction because all of that wood is hidden with insulation, vapor barriers, and the roof itself is constructed with trusses. Now, as sensible and practical as this might be in the city, it just doesn't sit right with me for lakeside cabins, small forest homes, or sleeping bunkies. To do these buildings justice, we need a completely different approach. And that's why I'm going to show you about installing insulation on top of the roof structure and not within it. Extruded polystyrene foam is ideal for this application, and the approach that I'm going to show you here uses a particular version of this product in a particular way. Now, details matter, so that's why I'm going to be careful to go into all the particulars so you can be sure that you get it done right. This roof is framed with 2x6 rafters with the edges chamfered using a 45-degree bit in a handheld router, just to make it look that much nicer. The roof structure itself is sheathed with solid boards because I feel that plywood or wafer board or any sheet material that's typically used to sheathe a roof just looks terrible when you can see it from the inside. Now, the whole roof is covered with ice and water shield that's held down with cap staples, and there are two reasons why. First, adding a membrane like this creates a temporary roof quite quickly, so your cabin is a dry place to get in out of the weather and to store your tools. Now, although this is a big advantage, it's not the main reason for adding ice and water shield right on top of the roof boards. What I like about it is that it creates a vapor barrier that prevents the warm, moist indoor air from making its way up into the insulation layer during winter. Now, if this happens, you're going to get frost and condensation and moisture buildup, and that's definitely not what you want in your roof structure. Now, extruded polystyrene foam does act as its own vapor barrier, but I was concerned about cracks and any gaps that might be present. So just to be sure, the vapor barrier in the form of the ice and water shield is a second layer of insurance to make sure that everything stays as it should. The best insulation product that I know of for insulating roofs from the top is actually made for insulating basement walls. It's called BARRICADE wall panel, and it's made with 2 inches of extruded polystyrene foam, factory bonded to 7/16" wafer board on top. Now, these panels come in either 2-foot wide and 8-foot long versions or 2-foot wide, 4-foot long versions. Either way, the edges are milled with small interlocking tongue and groove details, and when I put them on the roof, I also seal the edges with spray foam as they go down. Tar paper, or more ice and water shield if you want, goes down once the panels are up, and then it's time for your finished roofing. You can choose either shingles or a metal roofing material. Either way, both can fasten directly to the OSB component of the panels. You could insulate the top of a roof by buying foam and sheet goods separately, but there's a couple of problems with that. First of all, you'd be dealing with 4x8 sheets, wrestling them up to the top of the roof, and that's pretty large and unwieldy. The BARRICADE panels are smaller and easier to handle, and they don't cost significantly more than buying foam and sheet goods separately. Unbonded sheathing also creates the risk of possibly creeping down in relation to the foam over time. The bonded OSB layer of the BARRICADE wall panels eliminates this risk altogether. Before the installation of the panels on the roof, the edges have to be sawn to match the angle of the roof. These are the edges that are along the eaves only. In the case of this cabin, that's 45 degrees. The panels themselves get anchored with screws driven down through them into the underlying rafters. Later, fascia is applied to cover the edge of the foam before shingling the whole roof. BARRICADE wall panels have an R value of 12, and although that doesn't seem high enough for use in a roof, it actually works out quite well. As with all foam insulation products, you're going to get roughly twice the energy performance that you would from an equivalent R value of batt-based insulation. Small dwellings, not meant for full-time living, don't typically have to meet the same building code requirements for insulation as full-time, full-size residences would. But rest assured, with this kind of foam on the top of your roof, your cabin's going to be easy to heat in all weather, no matter how cold it gets. This same kind of insulation is ideal for insulating floors from the top. And to understand why, you need to realize the special challenges involved in insulating a floor. Cabins typically don't have basements, and that means that floors will be unbearably cold in winter unless you do something about it. Now, the typical approach is to stuff some kind of batt insulation between the floor joists, but it really doesn't work for a whole bunch of reasons. First of all, the foot traffic on the floor tends to jiggle the insulation out so it falls down, and even if you do hold it on with chicken wire or some other thing, the batt insulation attracts moisture and is a perfect home for mice. The BARRICADE wall panels that work so well on top of the roof are also perfect for insulating a floor. In this particular situation, they're going on top of a plywood subfloor. They're held down with screws driven all the way through the panels and into the underlying floor joists. Here you can see how the wall framing and the door threshold are built in such a way as to allow the 2.5 inches of extra height required to accommodate the thickness of the BARRICADE wall panels. Now, you can put any finished floor you want on top, and everyone's going to remain warm and cozy all winter long. And when they look up and see the roof boards and rafters and all the beauty of that, it's going to look exactly like a proper cabin should.